Welcome to another episode of Let's Catch Up with Sherani. I'm here today with my friend, because we are friends, Miss Maureen Lionel. Maureen, say hi to our family.
Hi, family.
Okay, so family, Maureen and I are friends, and we became friends, I think maybe about 12 years ago. And just shortly after we became friends, I heard the horrible news that her daughter was murdered. Now, Maureen, there was such an army around you that no one could get close to you. Recently, we were speaking, and one of the things you told me was that you've never discussed this publicly or openly, and we felt that this would be a good platform because we're all family here to just really give your side of the story, to say what happened, the journey that you've walked during that. So that's what we're talking about today, the murder of her daughter. So Maureen, I want to say to our audience, this is not an easy conversation for us. We actually prayed. Maureen said she needed to pray for a period of time before we could even have this show. And this morning we've spent some time in prayer just so that we're able to share with you. This show is that somebody would protect themselves better. Somebody would protect their son, protect their daughter, that somebody else would be saved from Maureen's and her daughter's tragedy. Maureen, I want to start off by asking you, what was the name of your daughter, your princess? What was her name?
She was Cherise Benoit.
Cherise Benoit. And how old was she?
She was 19.
She was 19 years old. Now tell me a little bit about Cherise. Schools, what she like, her personality.
Cherise was just an adorable young lady. She loved life. She loved her friends. She loved her mom. We did practically everything together up until when she went through Ave Maria. When Dame Paulette was open, we placed her into Dame Paulette. She went to convent from there, and she went to Sahafa. So she was at Sahafa. I felt she was a little more mature, so I allowed her a little more freedom with her friends, which she loved. She had her friends categorized. She knew which friends she could use on whichever occasion. She loved pink and purple.
Pink and purple.
She loved her high heels.
She was a
like
girly girl.
Yes.
Oh, well, if she don't like high heels, it's not your child.
She loved her high heels like her mom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was so carefree, so loving, so supportive of her friends when they were going through stuff. I'm seeing all her journals and how she was encouraging her friends when they were going through stuff.
So she kept a journal.
She did.
Wow.
She did.
All right. So Cherise, she was friendly. She was bubbly. She
Very
loved
much.
pink and purple. She was supportive of her friends. She was wearing the high heels just like her mother. All right. And she was doing well in school.
Very well.
She was doing well. So you are a proud mommy. She pleased your heart.
Definitely so.
All right. Now, before this tragedy, did you ever have any reason to have a sit down, a stern warning? I know sometimes things happen in our life as parents where we feel like, okay, I have to have a serious talk with this child. He's out too much, or I don't like the company he or she is keeping. Did you have any, what people call red flags, anything to make you feel concerned?
Definitely not. The thing about her, I think sometimes she was even more mature than I was.
Wow.
We went to church together. She would remind me sometimes of areas that I need to improve on based on the messages in church. So I think sometimes Cherise was more mature than I was.
You know, the Bible said that the young ones shall lead them.
That's correct.
And you're saying that in certain instances that this child that was taken away from you, she was helping you. You know, sometimes they get to a point where they raise the mommy. Because I go through that a lot with my son. A lot of times he has that hard talk. He put his foot down with me. Mommy, you need to. Mommy, you need to. So I can relate as the mother of a teen boy. When did she pass? Do you remember? Of course.
She passed on the 12th of September.
September 12th.
2013.
That's 8 years ago. When was her birthday?
Her birthday was the 30th of July.
So
she passed away about a month and a half after her birthday, 2 days after my birthday.
2 days after your birthday. Now, our conversation is going to get a little bit harder. Okay? You can pause when you want, and we'll start again. Because it's hurtful for me too. We're holding hands because it's, as a mother, where were you when you got this news about the passing of your daughter, or did you know that she passed? What happened? Tell me about that. Tell us about that fateful day.
That day was the most complicated day of my life, and didn't realize it because the morning I planned not to go to work. The office called because there was a meeting. So I left home like about after 10 that morning.
And where was she?
She was at home.
She was at home.
So when I left for work, I saw a vehicle which was unfamiliar entering my gap, but there was another house there. For some reason, something in my mind told me to turn back, but I just ignored it. I left. I went to the office, and that meeting just never happened, not until probably about after 11, after 12. We stayed in the meeting until 2. Some lady friend, who I thought was a friend, called to tell me that she had a client in Moshi. So she wanted me to come and have an interview with this person. So I made the appointment for 1, but because the meeting went late, I pushed the interview back an hour later. I went to her, and after 2, I drove to Moshi. I had the interview with the gentleman. I passed my home. Again, something asked me to go and check on Cherise, because for some reason that day, I don't know why I never called. Because I always called to check on her, or she would call. I normally leave her in bed because she likes to sleep. That particular day when I went into her room to say goodbye to her like I normally do, I told her I would call her like I normally do. But for some reason, there were so many distractions that day that I didn't call. So I went to the interview. When I was leaving to turn in to go into my home, somebody else called. I continued driving past my gap, and I went down.
So you passed your house 3 times on that day. And each time your instinct and the spirit told you to go home.
I didn't listen.
And you didn't listen.
I drove. I went to see somebody else who called me and told me that the tourist board had shoes some models had used, and they had some shoes on sale from those girls who had modeled some show prior. I told her I'd meet with her later. So I went back to office, did my normal usual day, and then later in the evening, I went to meet this young lady, got the shoes that I liked, and I went to drop her at her home in Cicero.
So you've been out from
It was
morning,
already after 6.
From morning to 6, you've been meeting, appointment, and then, yes.
And while I was with her, I said, oh my God, I have not spoken to Cherise. So I called. There was no answer. I called a second time. There was no answer. I told her, no, I need to go home.
Yes.
First, I thought she was probably in the shower. Then I gave her a few minutes again, and I called again, and there was no answer. So I started to panic. I told her, no, I need to go home. So, of course, I'm driving home, and I'm praying. I'm still calling the phone, no answer.
Why did you start praying?
I don't know. For some reason, it just came upon me to just pray so I can get home safe. And then I can get home to find out. Because I'm like, Cherise never leaves the house if she doesn't call. She never tells me, she never does anything that I'm not aware of. And I knew there was no way she had to go this time. So I start to panic. At the same time, I'm praying, I'm going home, but I'm not thinking anything bad has happened. I'm just hoping for the best, and I'm driving home.
So the prayer really was for you to get home safely.
That's what it was for.
For you to get home
because
safely.
I'm not expecting anything went wrong. And I know she doesn't go to bed early, so I say there's no way she could be asleep. So I'm like, maybe something went wrong with her phone. I called the house phone, no answer. Call her mobile, no answer. I kept on calling all the time until I get to the gate. I get to the house. I notice her bedroom window is open wide, and that's not the norm. So right away, I saw a sign that triggered something inside of me. Up to now, I don't know what I was thinking. I opened the door. I went inside. I started calling her. Everywhere was in darkness. By the time I got home, it was already after 7. The house was in total darkness. Nothing happened. Her bedroom door was locked. So I went straight into my room. I saw everything I left in my room was intact the very same way. I ran downstairs calling her name. I threw the shoes I was wearing out. I continued running around the room. But why her bedroom door is locked? I tried opening it, nothing. I don't know, for some reason. Oh, God help me. I just kicked down her door.
You kicked her door down?
I kicked the door down and the door broke open. The center of the door just broke and I saw my child lying on the bed. Tied. Her feet tied. Her mouth tied.
What did you do then?
I began to scream.
You were screaming.
I jumped on the bed. I held her. I grabbed her. I shook her. I took off the thing from her mouth. I called her name. I screamed. I screamed.
She was fully clothed.
She was fully clothed. Oh, Jesus.
What happened next?
I remembered calling my sister.
You call your sister? You were close.
I called my sister, screaming on the phone.
I know her voice is low. She said she was calling her sister. She was screaming on the phone. And you could well imagine.
There was a friend, a male guy who was close to me at the time. I called him as well. I will not mention the name at this time.
That's fine.
I called him. I called my boss. These are 3 calls that I made.
Did you realize that she had passed at that time?
I knew she had because she was not responding when I called her. When I shook her, her body was cold. And she was just lying there. I remember just screaming. I tried so many things.
To try and wake
her. When I took out the thing from her mouth, I tried to resuscitate her. I blow into her mouth to see if for some reason she had breath.
She had no breath. Do you know who called the police? By the screaming, the neighbors would have heard you screaming.
I don't know. I don't know who called the police. Maybe I told my sister and my boss what happened. I suspect somebody called. And when everybody came, I don't know what happened. I remember everybody ran to the room. I remember just throwing myself down and dragging myself down the steps, to the bottom of the steps. And I don't know what happened after. It's like I just got blank, but I remember there were so many people outside the house. I don't know.
Maureen, let me ask you. So you can just say agree or disagree. So the police came. There was a lot of people outside. Eventually, at some point, the hearse came and took her body.
I don't remember if there was a hearse.
You don't remember none of this?
I don't remember.
Was she dating anyone at the time?
Not that I know of.
Not that you knew of. Did she ever complain that somebody made her uncomfortable? Have you ever seen anyone, and you will understand this, Christian women and men will understand this. Did you ever see anyone and you feel in your spirit they may know or has something to do with it ever after that?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it started from the morning when I saw this
old
Suzuki drive into my yard.
A blue Suzuki.
I felt something was wrong from there. And they all tied together. So as much as the police have not gotten anything, I know. Sherani, I know.
You know that's the perpetrator.
I know.
Was there an investigation into her murder?
Investigation is still ongoing.
The investigation is still ongoing. Like so many of the murders in the world, the investigation is still ongoing. So somebody who murdered your daughter is out there walking on the street, which means that our children are still at risk.
That's correct.
None of our children are safe, because from research I've learned that when people get away with murder, they think that they can do it again, because they start to feel a bit, they can't touch me. How long after was she buried? Don't remember.
Because I didn't do anything.
You didn't. I could well imagine.
Her friends and my family and people took care of everything. I didn't do anything.
Is there any Jesus? Did the police close? Do they have any ideas, or is this now a cold case?
I pray in Jesus' name it will never be a cold case, because I told them if they don't solve it, I will solve it.
You will solve it.
Because it will be solved.
Yes, somebody
will be solved.
Somebody will pay for your daughter's death.
And it has a lot of spiritual connection to it. So even after that, everybody kept telling me, Maureen, you know who did it? And I didn't understand what they were saying at the time.
Do you feel like you know who did it?
I know who did it.
You know who? Maureen knows who killed her child.
I know who did it. And it had nothing to do with Cherise, but it was all me. It was all me. Cherise didn't have bad company. I knew all her friends. I knew her male friends. I knew her female friends. They came to her home. They were home with her. She was at their home. So I knew her friends. So I think this was more me, because somebody at the end of the day wanted to destroy me.
And that's where they felt it would hurt you most, to destroy your child. Because you said she was not assaulted. They came, they did not steal anything from the house. She was not raped.
Clarification from Dr. King, she was not raped.
And I'm glad that you're speaking today, Maureen, because when someone passes, there's so much gossip that the family can't heal, the people can't be at peace. Because that's one of the things I heard. I mean, luckily that Maureen and I are friends, but people are saying that, oh, this child was raped. Nothing.
She was not raped.
They went, they didn't steal, they murdered the child, and they left.
The only thing they took from the house was to make it a robbery, was her phone, the Kindle, her iPad. They took her laptop. The laptop was the only thing we never recovered. But the police recovered everything else.
So they didn't want the items they took. It was just to make it look like it was a robbery.
They gave it to some other guy, and he passed it on to somebody else, and they were able to find everything. So.
Wow. Maureen, you are a strong woman.
It's only because of God.
It's only because of God.
I kid you not. Because many times I tried to kill myself. Many times.
Please. Don't kill yourself, because...
I tried to throw myself out through windows. It's almost like God was always sending somebody to hold me at the time. I tried to stab myself with a knife. They used to have to time me and give me Valium to fall asleep, because they were afraid to leave me alone. I just wanted to die. I swear to God, I just wanted to die. The pain was so much. And then the gossip out there was, oh my God. It made me worse than even losing Cherise.
The gossip, people talking without facts. Yeah.
St. Lucian's are wicked. People are wicked. I went through so much and still going through. It's almost like people forget that I lost my child.
I will never forget.
And they had so much to say. They said I killed my child for insurance. They said I was a drug dealer. They say it was for drugs. I've never touched drugs in my life. I barely drink alcohol. I don't smoke.
I know that you live. I know, because you and I, we exercise together. I know we sit down a lot. You and I sometimes sit in your vehicle for hours and we talk about God, our spirituality.
They
Sometimes
accuse my spirituality. They say, only now I know God.
don't worry.
Let me tell you.
Don't worry about that. So yeah.
People with children. I think the hurtful thing was people with children had so much to say. And I couldn't believe that a mother would try to destroy another mother who have lost her one and only child. She was my only child. I couldn't believe it.
Let me speak to that. And I just want to speak to our family, because those of us who are parents, whenever we see another parent and the child is doing bad in whatever way, or was hurt or harmed or whatever, we need to stop it, because your turn today, somebody else's turn tomorrow. We shouldn't do it. We need to just sympathize. Stop listening to gossip, because these stories, they go around. I heard a lot of stories. I mean, Maureen is a friend of mine, so I knew a little bit more, but it was atrocious. Now the lady is sitting here and saying, no one raped her child. It wasn't about her child. She wasn't doing drugs. She didn't kill her child for insurance money. Maureen, I can say this, Maureen lives comfortably. She don't have to kill her child for insurance money.
The police officer, actually, when he came to the house and he saw shoes Cherise had in her room, and he saw all her clothes and how her room was nicely made, he actually made that comment and said, Maureen, I am so sorry, because I heard so much and I honestly believed them. And he said, I could see this child was comfortable. I can see you lived well.
Of course you lived well. Sometimes
She was all I had, so my life, I lived my life for my child. I wanted to ensure that I gave her a life that I never had.
That
was my dream.
That's it.
Send her to school. We were planning for her to go to university. She was just selecting what university she was going to.
Was she baptized?
She was baptized.
Good.
She was baptized.
Good. Thank God. Maureen, so many times you and I have sat in your car. We've spoken about money. We've spoken about your daughter. We've spoken about God, our relationship with God, about dating, about business. We sometimes we sit in your car for hours just talking. And I feel like I know you as a person, and I know that you loved your child, because you cannot speak about your daughter without tears. And I just want to offer you again my sincere condolences on the passing of your child. And we did this show, one, because it's time for Maureen to tell this story. And we did this show also so that you can talk to your children, get them to be a little bit more security conscious. If you're leaving the children in the house, make sure if you don't have burglar bars and alarm system, make sure you have deadbolts. Make sure you check on your children. You heard Maureen say it here. She was calling every day, often checking on the child, but that day it was so busy. Also, another important thing that you said is about that intuition, that thing that came in your spirit. That has happened to me several times with my son. And when I did it, I know why. And the story is not about me, but we have to listen to the Holy Spirit. We have to listen to that gut feeling, that intuition that comes.
But I just want to say something.
Say it. Go ahead. Yes. Say it.
We have to be careful who we bring into our homes, because I think my problem was who I brought into my home, because my house was not broken into. So whoever I brought into my home made copies of my keys. And that day I forgot to set the alarm, because normally when she's in the house, I don't bother. But there are times I would do it, especially if I left her in deep sleep. I would set the alarm. That day I didn't set the alarm. Let me tell you, the odds was against me that day. I didn't set the alarm because when I went into her room to say goodbye, she seemed to have been up. So I didn't set it. And I think in the haste that I left the house, I forgot. So whoever did this was in my home, was my friend. Well, so I thought.
Yes. It's
made
someone
copies
you were
of my
familiar
key,
with.
somebody I was very familiar with. So they made copies of my key, because if you listen to the talk around, people will tell you the house was not broken into, and that's why they accused me of doing it. They knew I was in the area that day because persons actually said it even before I said anything. So they had my routine planned for me that day. The call that I got to see a client in Moshi, somebody who was part of the arena called me to come to that meeting in
They
Moshi.
didn't want you to go home.
So they did not want me to go home.
They wanted to
everything
distract
was set
you.
up. Everything was set up. So people might not believe it because they don't understand how
I
the
believe
spiritual
you.
works.
I believe you.
But I know for a fact that this person gave a copy of my key to whoever did this to me.
Jealousy, you know,
So
sometimes.
people
Yeah.
said it was jealousy. I was wondering what were they jealous about. But what I realize now, I have so much that people need that they don't have. And it's not the material things. It's who I am. I'm a genuine person. I don't lie to people. If I'm asked a question, I try my best to stay honest. And I taught Cherise to do the very same. So I know many times they tried to kill me, but it didn't happen.
You won't be able to.
And I know they had to use Cherise as the sacrifice to destroy my life. Because even when I was going through, these people still stayed close to me and they were able to tell everybody what I was going through. They said that I would commit suicide. They said that I would have gone mental. But I have to say this. I have to thank the 2 pastors that God sent into my life.
You told me about them, yes.
If it wasn't for those 2 women pastors who came into my life,
you always told me about them.
I would be in the asylum or dead today. I kid you not. Because I felt I was losing my mind at one point.
I know, and I remember asking you several times, like, Maureen, are you going to go home? You remember asking you, Maureen, are you going to go home? Because you didn't go home for years. Are you even home as yet?
I went home on the 1st of January.
This year, 8 years after your daughter has passed. And I remember us saying that maybe you should put a big image of her. We spoke about you going home so many times.
And I did that.
And you did that. You did that. That's wonderful. Now let me ask you a question. They try to destroy you. Are you destroyed?
In Jesus' name.
You are not destroyed.
And I will never be destroyed.
You are strong. You've lost your child. There's a roof over your head. Your house is still yours. You haven't lost.
Amen.
You're healthy to your best knowledge.
By the grace of God.
You trust God.
Amen.
All right. So all will be well in Jesus' name. All right.
It will.
And now I want you to offer something to mothers. I want you to offer something to mothers because we need something. Tell me what to do. I have one child as well. Say something to me. Say something to our family. A warning. I like that you said, don't just allow anybody to come into your home. That's one thing I don't do. I don't have people at my home.
Did.
My son and I are the only ones who comes to this house. I don't keep company. And the type of friends I have, they're the same way. They will talk to you on 20 group chat, they will never show up. So that's a good point. Be careful the people that you are allowing into your home. Not everybody who laugh with you is your friend. I know that for a fact. The people who laughing with you, they're not your friends.
I learned it the hard way.
Yeah.
I've
learned it the hard way a lot of times. So say something to parents. What can you impart?
As a parent, I'll reiterate that you be careful who your friends are. And I think this is the number 1 key. Because I think sometimes, because of your good nature, you may invite people at your home. You may be going through, well, I was going through marital issues. So, of course,
you wanted that support.
I allowed myself to be vulnerable and figured that I needed something else.
Yes.
Don't expose your children to your friends, especially if you have a girl child. Do not expose different men to your children. As a mother, I believe that we have to be very careful that if we're having a relationship, that we have that relationship with the person outside of our home.
Yes.
You date that person outside of your child's knowledge. Do not get them into that arena with you, especially if you're living in sin and you're doing something where you have taught your children to do differently.
Yes. Yes.
Keep that separate from your home, separate from your children.
You have to be an example for these children. Yeah. Yes.
That is why I said I believe that Cherise was stronger than I was. My child didn't like it. She didn't like him. She had issues with it. And I know that's where it all stemmed for me, Sherry. I opened the door for the devil to come in.
Yeah.
I remember this individual having a business call and sleeping with the enemy. And Sherry, not until my child was dead did the God give me the vision that it was all about me. Cherise came back many times in her dream to tell me it was planned. Mommy, it was planned. Many times I cry and I call her and I ask her to walk me through it. And she tried walking me through it. And most times I just stop in the middle of the dream crying and apologizing. I feel like my child got murdered because of me. And every day I keep saying it. And I think that's why it's more painful for me, because I knew it was me.
Let me say something to you, woman to woman, friend to friend. Your child did not get murdered because of you, Maureen. A bad person killed your child. A bad person killed Maureen's daughter. Your child didn't get murdered because of you. A bad person went into your home and killed your child. If I am your friend, it does not give you the right to come into my home to harm me or harm my child. You're in counseling. I know you were in counseling.
Yes,
Are you still in counseling?
I still do counseling, yes.
I want you all to just understand this. Murder of a child is the top of the chart. But that counseling is important, where you can just talk and talk and talk. I'm happy that you came to share your side of the story today. Your daughter was beautiful. She would have been Miss St. Lucia. Your daughter was beautiful. You are beautiful. You're a beautiful person inside and out. I appreciate you. I'm sure a lot of the mothers and fathers who's going to be watching this show, they will understand you. A lot of people will now understand the situation and be able to put some of those rumors to rest that they heard. I know you loved your child, and God knows you love your child.
I still do. I talk to her every day.
You talk to your daughter. Yeah.
Every morning, every night when I pray to God, I talk to her photos. I smile with her, I cry with her, I laugh with her when I have to. I remember the good days, and every time I remember the bad day, it brings tears to my eyes. I cry myself to sleep at times, I still do. But I give God thanks that He knows the plans that He has for me. So I know that one day the person will be found.
They will.
I know they will.
They will be found. They will be found. There's a judgment day. And sometimes the judgment is even before judgment day. All right? Maureen, I love you. I love you so much. This was the hardest gift. All right. So family.
Thank you for this though.
You're thanking me? Thank you. Family, we thank you for joining us on another episode, because when she finished crying, I'm going to make her laugh when we shut the camera off, because I have to talk to her about getting a boyfriend. She's singing for too long. But family, we thank you for joining us on another episode of Let's Catch Up with Sherani. We'll see you again sometime soon.